That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. It's another night. It's time for the PowerMist Power Hour, brought to you by PowerMist Racing Fuels. Tonight, Ray will be out. He's out on a little vacation, so we got to fill him for him. And we got some special guests for us talking inboard boat racing and upcoming races in Flint, Michigan at Mott Lake. So hang in there, folks. We'll be right with you within 1 minute and 30 seconds. Hang out, get your popcorn, and get ready for a great show. And here we go, folks. It's that time again for the Racing Update, brought to you by PowerMist Racing Fuels and your host, Jackson Lightcap.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the PowerMist Power Hour, brought to you by PowerMist Racing Fuels. For all your racing needs, make sure to go visit PowerMist. And we welcome you to the TKDS Sports Network. As Kevin mentioned a little bit before in the intro, Mr. Ray Rada is out of town. He's in Hawaii, and I sure wish I was in Hawaii, but you know what? We're going to have a fun hour right here on the TKDS Sports Network and the PowerMist Power Hour. We have a couple of guests coming up later on in the show, and coming up later on in the show, we will have Austin and Kyle Hayes and also Bobby Kennedy. So a lot coming up here within the next hour or so, and cannot wait. So just as I mentioned, Ray is out for the day, so you have to deal with me. You'll be looking at me and seeing me, but super excited with it. So although Ray is out, he was able to send me some great information over the weekend. You know, he's out of town. He didn't have to do this, but great guy, and he's certainly helping me out and helping this show go as comfortable as possible. So he helped send me some information, and let's get into some racing updates. First off, Spencer Baston takes his first win in more than a year at the World of Outlaws in a race shortened by a 16-year phenom, Corey Day, tearing the fence down, and I mean literally, in a flip. Brad Sweat going for a fourth consecutive as Outlaws title took the points to lead back David Gravel. Saturday night, Kyle Larson got back on the winning horse and takes the World of Outlaws event in Missouri, this finishing second to Justin Peck last Tuesday, taking the high limit $2,300 in a second place over Larson. Let's move on now to the 360 sprints at Knoxville. Aaron Rutzel and Parker Price Miller took the prelim nights, and Brian Brown, a local Knoxville, Iowa driver, taking the national crown on Saturday night. Kyle Busch took down the flag in Tony Stewart's SRX Series for his second win in a row, and the Nashville and Indy car has signed an extended contract, which means Nashville will be the last race of the season for the next few years, with Nashville hosting the end-of-year awards banquets. Moving on, they've seen rain during practices at Nashville, and while that's occurring, the music is still playing, and the seat swaps expected later this month and next. The linchpin is Alex Pillow in his seat at Ganassi, with multiple drivers to vie for that seat if Pillow does not indeed move on to McLaren, with still talk of a possible F1 seat. There are remains of 10 of the 27 current drivers without salary for next year, and stay tuned for further updates. A quiet Nashville race this year in terms of caution flags and red flags as the Andretti Motorsports Kyle Kirkwood put his second win on the board over Scott McLaughlin, the pole sitter. Alex Paulo extended his lead for the season championship over rival Joseph Newgarden, and J. Michael Kelly won the Gold Cup in Seattle on Sunday. Our DePuy fans may remember his son Carson Kelly in the K-Pro category just 10 days ago at Lake DePuy. Still getting over that magnificent weekend at DePuy. The Nationals have all wrapped up, and of course Centralia is coming up this weekend, so we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. NHRA prepare for Heartland next weekend, and NASCAR was at Michigan this weekend as time was running out with 3 seconds left. 2 road courses at Daytona, which all have a habit for first-time winners and could punch somebody's ticket to the championship rounds. Chris Buescher takes a heart-stopping win for 2 in a row at Michigan. That narrows down to a 2 road course. Indy next, Watkins Glen the following week, and the Super Speedway, at Daytona for drivers to take a win and get a championship trail, who are all outside the top 16. The last 10 laps, he battled a determined Martin Truex Jr. over the last 10 laps in a real battle. Noah Gragson has been suspended by Legacy Motorsports for a social media incident with no word for the length of suspension. Martin Truex fooled us all, as it was thought he would hang it up after the season, but he has signed a 1-year deal with Joe Gibbs Racing for 2024, and John Hunter Nemechek took the Xfinity race on Saturday at Michigan with Josh Berry second, and he ran the Gragson car for Legacy Motorsports. Those are all the updates that Ray was able to shoot my way and wanted me to give to you folks here on the PowerMist Power Hour. And of course, a couple of things I wanted to talk about as well. Still recovering after that great weekend at Lake DePuy, the national championships for the U.S. Title Series. And this weekend, they're back on the water in Centralia, Illinois. It'll be an NBRA and U.S. Title Series event that will take place on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from Lake Centralia. And if you can't make it out, make sure to watch live right here on the TKDS Sports Network. But folks, I think we're about ready to bring in our guests. Without further ado, I welcome both Austin Hayes and Kyle Hayes, and also Bobby Kennedy. So guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, and looking forward to talking to you with you guys for the next hour.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So guys, first off, I just want to get into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Go
ahead, Bob.
Our family's been racing boats since the 1970s, and we're 4th generation racers, and I've been racing for over 20 years, and my brothers, they just got into hydroplanes this year. My brother Austin, he's been racing skiffs for a while, so we're just 3 brothers out in the water having fun. And our cousin races too. Our cousin Brandon. So there's four of us that race right now currently.
I believe we're
Awesome.
10 in the family, right, Bob?
Yep.
10 or 11.
10.
Kyle made the 10th family member to race boats.
Well, guys, just as you guys mentioned a moment ago, you guys just mentioned you guys are brothers, and being the competitors that you are and growing up together, I'm sure there was a lot of brother competitions, whether it's friendly or unfriendly. We won't undisclose that here on the show. But can you guys describe a little bit of what those brotherly competitions were like growing up?
Yeah, we the whole family's always played sports. So whether we're playing football in the backyard, wrestling, soccer, it's always very competitive between all of us. And we recently in the last few years have started playing the Hydro Sim game on the computer, and I think it's even a little bit more competitive on that. So it'll be fun to see what the competition level is like once we get on the water.
So, guys, you guys, as you mentioned, fourth generation racers, and boat racing and racing in general. There's a line going around that's saying it's a family tradition, and you guys are fourth generation racers. So, tell us what it was like growing up within the sport.
It was always a little hectic spending the weekends out in every corner of the East Coast, up in Canada. To be honest, there was never really that many Michigan-based races, so we're always traveling, stuck in cars, cramped up together, and like you said, it's a big family thing. Even the racers at the races that aren't direct family to us, they basically became our family. They were watching us all day while the rest of our family was holding the boats or out racing. So it was pretty interesting. You grow a big family.
Awesome. And you guys just said that there weren't a whole lot of races in Michigan while growing up, so you guys were constantly on the road. And at the time, I'm sure that probably caused a lot of issues in itself. But at the end of the day, hopefully that brought you guys all closer. And how did traveling on the road together so much? Obviously, you guys are all here today. You all still like each other. But how did traveling on the road, did that help you get closer over the years, and how so?
Yeah, I would say boat racing definitely brings the family tighter. I mean, you're like you said, we're traveling, we're going to the same place every weekend. We see mostly the same people every weekend. So you create that bond, and it's pretty incredible on how, if you stayed home, one would go hang out with their friends, one go hang out with their friends, but we're all stuck together, and it's not like we don't like it. We love it, and we continue to do it. And like Austin said, the people at the races are like family, and it's incredible. It's a good feeling because when you're going down the road and you're towing a boat and you're broke down, chances are there's going to be other boats pulling over to help you. I mean, it's a great community to be in.
Now, guys, obviously, just saying that you guys have been on the road quite a bit, traveling to a lot of these races, and I know that on a lot of family road trips, there's a lot of in-car games that you play to help pass the time. I know the license plate game is one of them. Do you guys have any special stops where you're on the road and you drive by a restaurant and you have to get it, or you play any special games or anything like that while on the road just to try to pass the time?
I think we have a new thing.
Yeah, Burger King. Yeah, but recently, a lot of our trips, especially because the other half of our team's out on, excuse me, on the East Coast in Delaware, but also a lot of the races, we're hitting the same rest stops there and back pretty much every time. It's the same trip. So we've been getting Burger King, and my mom's kind of made a habit out of posting a picture of everybody wearing the crowns on Facebook.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, you guys are getting prepared to race at Mott Lake this upcoming weekend, and what are you guys all going to be racing in?
So I'll actually be driving 3 different boats. For the race between all of us, I'll be driving the S2 owned by Dennis Wright. It's a 2.5 stock. He was nice enough to allow me to drive it for a heat to give us 3 brothers the chance to actually race deck to deck to deck. And also I'll be driving me and Kyle's 2.5 stock, the S35, owned by Ron and Sandy Thompson. So I'll be kind of bouncing back and forth.
And then Bob
I'll be driving the S9 Rewinder owned by Greg and Liz Barker out of Grand Island, New York. So, and it's all in the 2.5 stock class. So hopefully we get out in the water and we have some fun together.
Yeah, we wish you guys the best of luck this upcoming weekend at Mott Lake. Have you guys raced at Mott Lake before?
Nope, we have not. That's just the first time event. First time that the lake's actually a no wake lake. There's no boats on it. Or sorry, it's a no motor vehicle lake. So they actually had some extra hoops to jump through to get the races put on there. But it works in our favor because you kind of don't have to worry about boat traffic. It's one less hoop to jump through once race day gets going.
Awesome. And now, Bobby, this is a question for you. Bobby, you've been racing for 23 years. You've had the chance to race in every inboard class except for the unlimiteds, which you hope to race for here in the near future. But what's been your favorite class that you've been able to race in over the years?
I mean, it's hard to say. Pretty much, I like driving anything with the steering wheel. So, uh, GPs are there's some about GP. I would say my two. I'd have to say two favorite classes: a 2.5 stock and GP. 2.5 stock is because you can get boats side by side 2 inches away from each other going over 100 miles an hour and not touch, and go around the corner 2 inches from each other and not touch. It's just a different type of racing. But when you get in a Grand Prix, you step on it going up for the start, it throws you in the back of the seat and you got to hold on. It's a way different feeling, but GP probably tops it. It's quite the class to be in. It's hard to explain the power that you feel. Um, Pretty much go down the dirt road as fast as you can with big potholes, and that's what you feel in the GP. You're kind of getting tossed around in there a little bit, but it's really fun.
Now, Bobby, you just mentioned that your favorite class to race in is the GP, and you've won many national championships when it comes to inboard racing. And you just won your first GP last weekend in Tonawanda. How did that feel? And how does that compare to some of the other championships that you've won?
It was pretty awesome. There's a boat, GP88 Hydrofish, who, if they won that final, they would have been on a 14 win streak. And so to take that away from them at their hometown was it was pretty big. That team has been on top for a long time. They're great competitors. Uh, all their drivers have been top notch. So to go out there and race them head to head and beat them, it was pretty phenomenal. Um, our team has been trying, and they've been working our new boat really good. Uh, my cousin Brandon has been doing the setup on the boat, and he's done a phenomenal job. So we just got it all put together in the right order this weekend, and we went out there and got it done, and it just felt incredible.
Being able to take down, that high powered team out there in their hometown, what strategy went into it? Is there anything different that you did in that race than you usually do? Or did you just keep it the same and you trusted what you had?
No, I'm I drive pretty hard, and sometimes I just try a little too hard. So this weekend going into it, I was going to take my time, go fast, but take my time and be smart about it. So in the final, I got ahead by a rooster tail, and I went into a turn and I slowed down just to save the equipment, save the boat. The water was rough, and my dad, who's my radio guy, he kept telling me, "He's at the end of your rooster tail. He's at the end of your rooster tail." And at one point, he said, "He's within your rooster tail." So that's when I had to push it a little harder. And then once I got that bigger margin of a lead, I eased back up off the throttle a little bit. These big engines can be a little finicky, so I didn't want to push it too hard, but I wanted to push it hard enough to keep them behind me.
Absolutely. Well, it certainly seems like it worked. National championship within the GP, and now Kyle, this is your first year driving an inboard hydroplane, and you've already been able to win a couple of heats with it. Racing those hydroplanes, the inboard hydroplanes so far this season, what have you learned? What goes into it, and what have you learned just over the season that you try to utilize that knowledge in future races?
Um, I'd say like in the HRL series, one thing I learned, especially with my race in Valleyfield, is that with the way that they set up their format and there being a one final on the last day after all the qualifiers, is that it is a battle, it is a marathon, not a sprint. Going out there and winning the first heat's great, but if you end up damaging your boat, end up messing up an engine, getting yourself a penalty, you can really put yourself in a hole that you won't be able to recover from. So just going out there, taking what's given to you on the course, obviously trying to get as much as you can, but there's times where you can overdo it. So just being smart, keeping the boat on the water, doing my best at least, and just making sure I could finish heats. Hitting starts, obviously very important in the sport of boat racing. So I've been slowly getting better at those throughout the year. And, every heat that I've hit good starts and I've ended up with good results. So it's just been trying to piece all the different pieces together and, just keep building each race and trying to find more speed and, just trusting that the team and, all the support that I have will be able to keep me competitive and then just do what I can do out in the water.
Kyle, what are some differences with driving the hydroplanes other than some other classes that you've ran in previously?
So I haven't raced any. I haven't been able to. I did race a J stock when I was 9 years old. It lasted about 30 seconds. It took me about 30 seconds to get into an accident. Another boat ran into me, so I uh, I took a pretty long hiatus from there. Um, yeah, obviously the 2.5 stock's a lot different. Sitting back in the seat, strapped in, going, at least twice the speed. It was interesting the first time out there, but it was surprisingly quick and how comfortable it was.
And now, Austin, you're the youngest. You've been racing ever since you tested a 1 liter stock and began riding with Billy Sewell back in 2021. In that season, riding with Billy, you won the National High Points Championship, and you have won 2 Eastern Divisional Championships in a row with Billy. And how do each of those accomplishments feel?
They felt awesome. My first year out to win a national championship in an Eastern Divisional, it was surreal. I've watched family members and other racers for years try to win a national championship and get the big ring. And for my first year out, even though as just a rider, it was unreal. Actually, the banquet where we received the title was on my 21st birthday. So the whole season in general was just absolutely insane.
Now, with winning that much so far just since riding back in 2021, does that automatically become the standard?
Um, I think personally in my head it does, especially in the skiff. Being used to being out front in the nice clean water, I really push myself because I want to keep that clean water and do what I've done in the skiff. Although some people, like Bob the other day, told me that being rookies, me and Kyle are not expected to go out and win every heat. But we have been able to go out, not every heat, but get a good couple wins under our belt. And although some people might not expect it of us, I think I can speak for the both of us. It's something we expect of ourselves because it's what we dream for.
Now, Austin, this is your first year driving a hydroplane full time. How do you like it?
I'm loving it. To come from a skiff, it's a totally different world. In the skiff, I'm just strapped in for the ride. Basically, I sit there and watch gauges and trust my driver that he can take me safely around the race course. But to have that control and feel the boat kind of walking down the straightaways and really get like thrown against the side of the cell when you're taking turns, it's a totally different feeling. And I will say, I think the control and feeling of the 2.5 stock is probably my favorite over the skiff.
You guys also race in the motorsport world as well, a part of the TKO Motorsports. And just tell us a little bit about that team and your experience racing in the motorsport world.
It's so far it's the teams I think formed it probably right towards the beginning of the off season, and there was a lot of excitement right from the get go, especially bringing in a brand new boat, brand new GP. It was a big task, but between the family out here in the Midwest and the family back home, kind of really getting to work on that. We made a couple trips out there to add some extra hands. It really showed the commitment that the whole team has to the sport and to being successful in the sport. And part of the way through building that boat, we found out that Ronnie and Sandy were gonna give Austin and I the chance to drive the 2.5. So I think for me and him, that was just an extra bit of motivation to really help get the GP done, help get our boat done, and to really be involved in the sport outside of a spectator point of view.
Yeah, we're spread out uh, by a lot. I mean, we're out in Michigan, and then you know, and then you have the Thompsons who are the owners. They live in Maryland, and then you have TKO, right? The Kennedys, the rest of them are in Delaware, and then the O in TKO is Osinga. Wally Osinga, he lives in Florida, so we were all coming from different parts of the country just to work on a boat, and then end up getting both boats ready. And it's so in the off season, it took a lot of hands and a lot of time, but they got it done. We added I would say 5% of the help. I mean, they were building that thing for probably for about 3 or 4 months straight.
It was about a full-time job for our cousin Brandon. It was what he could do
Yeah.
for on that GP with all the new designs and mostly from scratch. What he was able to do his first time building a boat was extraordinary.
Yeah, well, we had a kit boat, and then I like to call him. I tried to give him a name, Brandon Hacksaw Kennedy, but he didn't like that because he pretty much took a solid of these this boat kit, chopped it up, and then just started doing different things with it to make his own design. That we have learned things from over the years that, and we had a number of people to help us, like Scott Kropfeld, Ray Lynn. We talked to some unlimited teams, and they gave us some pointers. So it was a lot of different minds and hands going into this boat.
And that's just as important as racing out on the water or on land or no matter what racing is. You have to be able to be a good mechanic as well, because I'm sure, as you guys know, things break down and you got to think on the fly and put things back together and just try things that you pray that works. And I'm sure that you guys have had some experiences like that in the past. Can you just kind of describe to us, some of the adrenaline that goes into that when you're just trying to fix something and tweak something right before a big race?
So
Yeah,
this
well,
year actually. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, you go.
So my first race or all of our first races this year in Edgewood, Maryland. The going into the final, we stayed in the water and refueled in the water, and about 30 seconds before we were going out, we noticed that our starter fell off the boat, and I was already fully strapped in the boat. I was about to drive away from the dock. So, being the crazy mechanic that he is, my uncle proceeded to rip the cowling off the boat, take the starter, hold it up to the motor, told me to start it, and as I drove away from the dock, he dove off the back of the boat. And he is the only reason that we got that boat going for that heat. It was insane.
Yeah, it
That's
certainly
not
sounds like.
not the first time Uncle G's done that either.
No.
Hey, I mean, whatever it takes to get out on the
Yeah.
water, you have to earn those points somehow. So, and it's always great having just a great team member to be able to help you out with that. And it also makes it a little bit more special that you're spending it more time with family, just like we were talking about a little bit in this interview, is, having your uncle with you and having an uncle that's got that knowledge. It's got to feel special.
Yes, he's very knowledgeable. If I know me personally, if I didn't have him in my life, that I probably wouldn't have made it out in the water a lot. Probably wouldn't even be boat racing because he was my hero growing up, watching him race. So I wanted to do what my Uncle George did. So when I was 15, I got that. Yeah, when I was 15, I got that chance to, and I never stopped since, and always tried to be like him. So I'm still trying to be like him.
And boat racing obviously has been such a big part of your guys' life. and especially you, Bobby, racing for more than half your life, 23 years. And could you guys imagine what it would be like if you guys never got into boat racing?
I would be pretty bored.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It takes up a lot of
I
our summer. And growing up, that was a lot of the traveling that we did. We still took family vacations, but we got to see a lot of different places just from boat racing. And like we said earlier in the interview, a lot of the people that we met at those races are like family to us. So it would be a very different life without having been going to races our whole life and still being involved in the races.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine not boat racing. I mean, my kids, when they get excited when we're going to go to a boat race, they're like, boats, boats. I mean, my son seen me wearing my crew shirt today, and he thought we were going to a boat race when I was putting him to bed about 20 minutes ago. So, but I mean, that's another great, like, me and my brothers as a family growing up, we were going to races together, but now I get to experience a whole different part of it. Like I get to bring my wife and my kids to a boat race, and I'm so glad that they support me with it. And you know, yeah, we might go crazy for 10 hours in a car with three kids, but we manage and get through. So it's pretty cool. I couldn't live without boat racing.
And it also sounds like you may have a couple more future boat racers on your hands as well, Bobby.
Yeah, I would have to argue with the mom about that a little bit. But Sarah, she really likes boat racing. I mean, I've never seen her that excited when I won over the weekend, so that was pretty awesome. But to get the kids into a boat, it's going to take a lot of convincing and maybe some expensive jewelry.
And this is a question for all you guys, but Bobby, you were just talking about having your wife there and your kids there and stuff like that, and seeing their excitement when you get out of the boat after winning a big race, including a national championship. How does that support feel, and how does that help motivate you guys?
Me personally, seeing them excited, is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
Oh, it's very rewarding. Um, to have support just from, even though my kids are 1, 2.5, and 5, and for them to understand that something big in my life just happened, which is their life too. Because it's a goal that I've been trying to reach my whole life, is to get into this class and win, and it finally happened. So to see them excited was very rewarding. So it's a great thing. It's all about family, right? That's why we're all here and we're all racing.
I know for me in Austin, growing up watching, four, potentially even five of our family members race, seeing literally all of them win in the sport. It puts, I think Austin and I both felt a little pressure, but I think that pressure makes it all the better when we're able to go out there and perform well. And fortunately, both of us have been able to get some wins under our belt. And so coming back in and seeing the joy that brings my mom, brings my brothers, brings my dad, my uncle, and the whole rest of the family, it's definitely very rewarding to know that you've got a family that cares about the sport, and we're able to participate in it and make them happy with it.
Yeah, it really, especially my mom. She raced back in the day, and she wasn't too happy when I got in the skiff class. She's not too big fan of that class being so crazy, but I don't think she ever expected me and Kyle, especially, to get into a hydroplane. I think she saw it coming, but didn't want to believe it. And to see her reaction when we come in after a win or just a good heat, where we have the boat running good, we come back safe. It's really rewarding to see how happy it makes her.
and especially growing up, you guys were able to spend all that traveling time together. Now you get to spend it with your families, and that's got to feel so great. And I want to go back to. I just thought of this question. I want to kind of go back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier in the interview. traveling. You guys have talked about you guys have traveled all over. You guys have traveled to some pretty cool places. Where do you guys think is the coolest place that you've been able to race at, or even to just travel to?
Valleyfield. It's Valleyfield, yeah, definitely for me. I mean, I've been to a couple races, but Valleyfield, just seeing that many people there to watch boat racing and seeing what it means to all the other teams, like the level of competition and the desire to compete is so elevated that weekend. So just being able to be a part of that, and even growing up as kids, I would still say it was just watching the races. It's the best race to go to. The whole event, the town, having a town like that be that hard or that much behind the race is you can literally feel the excitement when you get there.
Even if you're not racing that weekend, I know as kids, and my dad was just talking about it the other day, and he's never been a racer before. He's always been crew member, but he talked about he would be walking through the concert on one of the nights wearing a team shirt, and people would come up and ask for his autograph. When you're a racer or a part of a race team up there, you are essentially a celebrity to all of those fans, and the atmosphere that brings is something else.
Me, it's hard to say. I mean, there's different aspects of every race that I can say that I like. I mean, Valleyfield with the crowd, that's awesome. I mean, and then you can go to Hampton, Virginia, and it is awesome water to race in. And then same as Rocky Fork, Ohio. And then they used to have a race here in Michigan, Waterford, and that water was beautiful to race on. Um, Stewart, Florida was pretty cool because you'd go down there in the spring and you race on the causeway, um, right near the bridge. And, one time we had to stop because there were sea turtles and dolphins going through the race course. So, I mean, I can say that there's one place that I would say tops them all because every race has a, a, a little unique thing about it. I mean, yes, Valleyfield is freaking awesome, but you know, when do you boat race and next thing you know, you look over and you see a dolphin jumping out of the water next to you. I mean, it's wild. So, uh, it's every race is unique, and I love going to all of them.
Personally, I think my favorites would be Cambridge. Oh, you're right. Cambridge, Maryland. It's where I got my start boat racing. It's where I tested the 1 liter stock. I first drove with Billy Sewell, and it's actually where our poppy, our grandpa, tested his first race boat. So it has a lot of that course, especially, has a lot of meaning to our family and to me. And it sometimes it's a little windy. You got the famous Cambridge storm that comes through most years, but it holds a special place in my heart.
And then you get to eat Maryland blue crabs there too, so that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Traveling around to races, that's one of my favorite things actually, is going to see different places and getting to just enjoy the local food. I mean, that just, to me, I'm a foodie. I like eating. Whenever I go out of town, I'm like, okay, Jackson, I'm going to stick to my diet. And the next thing I know, I'm getting, some local cuisine that I just can't turn down. And then I go back and back.
Oh yeah, those cheeseburgers in Depew I heard were pretty good.
Oh, they were very good. They were very good. Bobby, going back to what you were saying, being able to race right next to, dolphins jumping up next to you and stuff, that's got to be a very, very cool thing. That's got to be a very fun thing to see. The only thing that I've noticed anything like that in the sport is seeing the Asian carp jump up at Lake Depew when the boats are out on the water at Depew. So, but that's got to be great that you experienced that. Do you guys have any favorite memories out on the road that you guys want to talk about?
I mean, nothing off the top of my head. I mean, you make well, you say out on the road. I did travel one time with my buddy Jim and his wife, and we were headed down to Hampton, Virginia from Michigan. It's supposed to be a 12-hour trip. Well, it took us 24 24 hours to get there because we had to stop and go shopping. Then we had to stop for lunch. We had to stop and have a sit down dinner. And then they had to stop to sleep. They were tired of driving. Literally took us 24 hours to go 12 hours. So it's kind of funny because my kids don't even take that long. But no, I mean, when you go to a race, you generally make memories at the race, and it's pretty cool. I mean, especially with you have your friends at the race that you go hang out with every weekend. Like, when I go to a race, I like to see my buddy Tyler, my buddy Steve, and TJ, and everyone else I see at the race, and then my brothers too. We live a half hour away, but this summer I've seen them more at the races than I have in Michigan.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Bob. I think a lot of the time, especially half of our driving is right after we're done racing on Sundays, and I know me personally, I try to sleep as much of that time as possible. So we try to really take advantage of our time when we're at the races, whether we're out in Maryland, up in Canada, somewhere in the Midwest. Got a couple of Michigan races this year, so even this weekend in Mott, it's going to be a new event, a new location, and even though we're 30 minutes away from home, it won't necessarily feel like that because that's just the way the boat races are. It's its own environment, and it's very unique.
Yeah, especially with any drive. I'm guessing even this 30-minute drive for us, but going out to Cambridge where it's 10 hours or 12 hours down to Hampton, sometimes it flies by, sometimes it doesn't. But the anticipation of getting to see everybody, or the anticipation of getting in the boat and just kind of getting your strategy down for what you would like to do, even though as soon as you get on the race course, it could be totally different. But the planning and everything that at least goes on in my head, I really enjoy going to the races. And like Kyle said, on the way back, it tends to be a lot of sleeping.
Have you been strategizing for this weekend yet?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to get you on the
We're
outside.
definitely not sharing it with you.
That actually led me into my next question. I was going to say Mott Lake is coming up this weekend. How are you guys preparing? Are you nervous, excited? What can we expect?
I definitely.
I was
excited.
already on
I
the
think-
phone.
Go ahead, Bob.
I was already on the phone with my boat owner that I drive for in this class that I'll be racing this weekend, and just asking him he had some issues over last weekend with another driver with the boat, and I was asking him to make sure he had it fixed because we have our brotherly debut this weekend, and I don't want to let my brothers down.
Yeah, we're definitely. I know me and Austin have talked about it a little bit. It's going to be fun to get out there, and we've watched Bob race a lot, and I think we both have an idea of how he races. But I know personally that the view at every course I've been to this year and raced, once you get out on the course, is so different from what you see on shore. So it will definitely be interesting to get out there and see how it plays out once we get out there together.
Yeah, it's and like he said, we've watched Bob for years. We think we know most of his little tricks that he couldn't pull on us.
I've been trying to come up with a way to get you guys a little off guard. So I just got to keep you on your toes.
You're unpredictable, so we're expecting that.
Yeah.
You would almost have to drive predictable to throw us off.
So, are you guys all going to be on the water at the same time this weekend? Or, if not this weekend, is there any chance that you guys all be, competing out on the water here in the future?
So,
Yeah, we'll be all on the water at one point.
Yeah, so we only have 2 boats in the class. Bob's boat, the S9 Weewinder, owned by Greg Barker, and then me and Kyle, we share a boat, the S35, owned by Ron and Sandy Thompson. So those 2 boats will be out there, and in the future, they could be there again. So we could race against each other. But for all three of us to be on the course at the same time, Dennis Wright, one of our competitors who drives the S2, at the last race I was at, Rocky Fork, Ohio, he heard that all three of us were going to be at the race, and Bob had his boat there. And after the final, we got out of the boat, we were congratulating each other, and he said, "Do you want a third boat to drive for a heat so you guys can have the opportunity?" So I, of course, said yes. My mom might have objected to that slightly. She's a little nervous about it, but so for at least one heat this weekend, we should all be out there going deck to deck to deck, and should be interesting.
She'll be rooting for her baby boy Austin.
Oh yeah, okay. Wait till we have to throw one of you on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, she can do your radio, Austin.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll love that. I told her at Rocky Fork I was going to sing down the backstretch, but she couldn't see me, and she didn't like that idea very much.
And guys, coming up at Mott Lake, what are some competition? Who are your biggest competitors that you're looking forward to racing against this weekend? I don't want you guys giving all your strategy away here on the show that will torch you this weekend.
There's gonna be a good amount of boats there this weekend in our class. I think our main competitor is probably going to be Grant Hearn. He's pretty fast. He drives the S14 Hearn Legacy, and it's fast. It's a great boat. His dad's very knowledgeable with propellers. They have a great engine program. Sobe bust his butt on the boat getting it ready, and they're always there to compete. So it's going to be they'll be our main competition.
Another one will be, and we're not 100% sure if he's going to be coming yet or not, but John Shaw in the S92. He actually just last weekend in Tonawanda, he secured the 2500 High Points Championship for HRL. And that boat, him and Al Thompson did so much testing this year, really got that boat honed in, and it sure is fast. It's going to be tough to beat.
There'll be several other people there. I know we've actually, over the last 2 weeks, we kind of heard a couple different names that kind of last minute have decided that they're going to come. So, so far in Region 6, we've had really good turnouts for our class, especially. I know in Belleville we had 8 boats, and Rocky Fork, I believe it was 8 to 10 boats. And I think we're going to get at least that again this weekend in Mott Lake. So it should make for some really good competition. There's going to be some really fast boats there. We've seen throughout the year some boats continue to get faster and faster. So it should be a really good event, and we're very excited to go put on a good show for the fans.
Once again, for anybody out there who would want to go out to Mott Lake, make sure to head on out to Mott Lake. And anybody who can't, make sure to watch right here on the TKDS Sports Network at the link down below. Guys, I'm down to my final question for you. Thank you again so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules. We know you're getting ready for Mott Lake this upcoming weekend, but I know you don't want to rush through Mott Lake because it's going to be a great weekend. The atmosphere there is going to be great. But what are some other future races that you guys plan on attending so that we may be able to see at those as well?
So for me, I know I'm going to be racing in Hampton, Virginia, the Summer Nationals. It's just going to be me driving the S35 that weekend. Me and Kyle kind of made a deal. He got Valleyfield this year, so I took Hampton. I've raced there in the skiff before, and like Bob said earlier, the water there is beautiful. It's a really nice race course.
And then I'll be racing after Mott Lake a couple weeks after. I think it's 2 or 3 weekends after. We'll be racing in Beauharnois up in Canada, not too far from Valleyfield actually. And then I think both Austin and I will be racing in Caesars Creek at the end of September. And then depending on what we have going on at the time and how the boat's doing, we might potentially make another race or two, like a Pack-On or Lakeland potentially. We're just gonna we'll play those other races by ear.
Great, yeah, Caesars Creek. I know that's right here in my backyard, just south of Dayton, Ohio. So it's a beautiful lake, beautiful town around there. The city of Waynesville does a great job as well, so that'll always be fun. But yeah, I think that's all that I have. So if you guys have any final thoughts, please feel free to share them.
Yeah, thank you for having us on. We really appreciate. I know over the last couple of years, TKDS has been really getting involved in our sport, and we really appreciate having you guys there to give us exposure and share some of the stories of some of the drivers as well. So we really appreciate what you guys are doing for the sport of boat racing, and hope to see you guys keep coming out to races, and hopefully any fans that are watching, we can get you guys out there as well. It's a good experience. It's a good atmosphere. And we love having people at the races.
I got to plug my sponsors: River City Printing, Liquid Moly, Go Lithium, and Thompson Automotive. We couldn't be racing without those guys. What's that?
Oh, Full Throttle Wraps. They keep our boats looking really nice. Did some really good wraps on our boat this year, so it's always nice racing a boat that looks good too.
Got to look good to go fast.
That's all that matters, looking good while going fast and hopefully winning. Good luck this weekend at Mount
Hey,
Lake, guys.
and Jack, you also got to say their name. It just helps that we're just part of TK too. We can be TK paired with them. TKDS Sports, TKO. Hey, it's all in family, same colors too. We love it, guys.
All right.
Are we going to see the GP out anytime soon again?
The GP will be in Beauharnois in a few weeks. Brandon, my cousin, he'll be driving that weekend. I think it's only right him close out the season since he practically put the boat together with a whole bunch of help from especially our crew like Steve Webb and Wally Osinga, my brothers, me, my dad. So, I wish him the best. I wish I could make it, but he's probably gonna go do really good. He's a great driver.
Well, you guys, I know I'll be up in Mott Lake this weekend doing that coverage while Jackson's going out to Centralia. It's been a pleasure having you guys on. You guys are a great race team. We've been trying to get more inboard guys on. Just kind of a little rascally sometimes to grab you guys because between Canada and U.S., you guys are on the road a lot. So we appreciate your time. And Jackson, I'll let you close it out.
Once again, that's Austin Hayes, Kyle Hayes, and Bobby Kennedy. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So once
what a great
that is
team,
Austin Hayes, Kyle Hayes, and Bobby Kennedy. And yeah, a great team. And Kevin, just as you mentioned, they were very fun to talk to, and being able to see them race up this weekend in Mott Lake, it's going to be something special. And that's one thing I learned in this show. They taught me that this is going to be the first boat race at Mott Lake. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's Michigan has been working really, really hard, the prop riders up there, to get races in Michigan back because Michigan, like Ohio, has a deep-rooted history in boat racing, both unlimiteds, the bigger boats, the inboards, and over time it's dwindled away. But now we see a big surge in them bringing it back. And the group in Michigan, whether it's stock mod hydros, the people we know, there's 3 or 4 groups, and then even this weekend in Mott Lake, they also got to deal with the marathon race there. Topo's going on. So they got that coming. But there's a lot of boat racing in Michigan for people to see, and the Michigan fans are insane for boat racing. And we hope that we can build that back up and get some of that crowd for them. And maybe we'll see some more boat racing around Michigan. I mean, we've already been to the west coast of Michigan when we went over to Constantine, right? And those races and how fun those were. Now we got the west side. We have Belleville, which was awesome. Great time. I mean, getting to rival Depew type of a style. And then now Mott Lake, we get to see what Genesee County is going to bring for them. So it's really, really interesting to see.
Yeah, and Kevin, you mentioned it. Michigan's building back up the circuit up there, and that's something special. And, any fans out there watching, make sure to check on out Mott Lake or even out in Illinois, Centralia, Illinois. There's so many races going on this weekend. And it's not just racing, but there's an atmosphere around them as well. A lot of these places will have live music afterwards. It's just a good time. And it's almost like a festival. It's almost like a festival. It's not just racing. There's just so much to do behind the scenes as well. It's always a great time. And for any folks out there, I recommend go check it out, Mott Lake or wherever the race is closest near you. And if you can't make it out, make sure to look at the link down below. Oh, wrong way. Boatracing.tkdssports.com, and you can watch it live there.
Absolutely. Well, Jackson, I think but I don't know if we'll see each other before we get to you. Have a good weekend of racing. I'll be heading out here in the next few days, getting ready for some football stuff coming up. I mean, we got a schedule that's going to be packed. So let's take in the racing. You know, we still got some other racing. I think after Centralia, you got Jacksonville and potentially might throw a loophole your way and send you out to Hampton yet. I don't know. I'm going to try to work that one out, depending on what's going on. But we've got 3 or 4 more inboard races and at least 2 more stock mod with the title series and pro class to go yet. And a lot of boat racing to happen, folks. So hang in there with us. Jackson, you did a great job covering for Ray today. We appreciate you stepping in. I know it's an extra duty for you this week. You did a good job, though. Hope you have an enjoyable time for your upcoming trip.
You too, Kevin.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's been our boat racing show for this week here. Jackson stepping in for Ray Rada. He did a great job, and here we go. It's time to get ready. Now, next week we'll be on again. Ray should be back at that point, but you might see Jackson's face every now and then. Look for him on the water. He'll be there. He'll be out at Centralia, folks. Don't forget that title series and the MBRA folks will be driving. It's the MBRA Nationals, but the title series capsule boats that couldn't race in Depew will be doing their nationals also. That's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday race. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday on TKDS Sports Network, boat racing with Jackson out at Centralia. And then me, myself, and I, and a couple of other friends of ours will be meeting up at Mott Lake in Genesee County, Flint, Michigan. We're going to have boat racing Saturday and Sunday for you. The inboard guys, the team you just heard, they'll be out there racing, and it's going to be an awesome, fun, great time. So hang in there, folks. We're going to be racing all weekend long.